It is about 3:03 p.m. and this is Intuitive Talk Story. I'm Michál Anna, your host, and I have today with me back on the show, Miss Terra Sutton. Welcome, Terra.
Thank you so much. Wonderful to be here. Let's talk story.
Yay, I'm excited to chat with you. And in the vein of Intuitive Talk Story, everybody out there, everybody in here, we're going to take a minute to ground, connect, get present. So let's close our eyes and breathe wherever you are and whatever you're doing today on this May 20 Wednesday. And just breathe into center. And begin grounding into the earth, into the core, digging your roots deep, letting go of anything you've been doing today, anything you're going to do later. Being aware of your connection to Source, Higher Self, Divine Wisdom, Infinite Sun. And releasing any cords or connectors to anything, anywhere, not serving, not in alignment with self, highest version of self. Releasing them to their rightful place in the light as you take a nice inhaling breath and exhale everything out. Intending to be fully present, heart and head connected in coherence. As we listen, as we converse, as we share today, for the highest good of all. Mahalo nui loa ke akua, and so it is. Thank you, everybody, for joining in that moment of presence, getting us ready to be here now and embark on a topic. And as Terra and I were kind of visiting, what do you want to talk about today? I thought, we have both been therapists on this island and beyond since the late 90s and have both experienced lots of different modalities in study, in practice, with clients, receiving, and the whole gamut pretty much. So we thought, why not discuss bodywork and healing modalities. If you're out there trying to sift your way through the healing modalities, what would be best for me? What do I need? This show is for you. And for anyone else who's just interested in healing, who would like to explore different modalities, obviously we're not going to hit every single modality, but we will do our best to cover the ones we've experienced and are familiar with, etc. So here we go, Terra, what do you think? And we both, first to just start with, maybe tell a little bit about your own personal background, and then I'll do the same.
Sure. I think that we're both licensed massage therapists. And then when you say the word body work and healing work, that really kind of bubbles out that entire, it goes like, okay, a massage therapy. And then there's like probably 20 different kinds of massage therapy at minimum. And then if you say then body work or healing work, then poof, you're out into the ethers with like thousands of options of just the ways people support each other in healing and becoming more healthy and whole. So my journey started in holoenergetic healing when I was 19, and that was pre-massage, and that form was more energetically based and transformation through process, basically, with a foundation in energetics. Then massage therapy, I went to New York as a youngster, 21, and went to the Swedish Institute. There, that program taught both Swedish alongside shiatsu. So when you finish that program, you have a year in both. And it was a beautiful combination to feel and get a glimpse and a general foundation in both kind of a Western approach to body massage and also an Eastern foundation, and how those complement each other and how sometimes they don't. So that's my foundation, my initial training. What was your initial training?
So my initial training, so I come from Colorado. So I initially was actually I went to University of Washington not in healing arts, in English, creative writing. So I have a BA in English. And then I decided I wanted to dive full on into the healing work. I kind of, I would have to say my background starts probably more like as a child, and I know yours does too, but in studying spirituality and in studying the word, and I'm a daughter of a preacher. So I was steeped in Christian mysticism, speaking in light language or tongues at age 10, and was laying hands on people actually during my younger years, like, kind of just intuitively, just helping people, like elders, mostly older people. I used to deliver the pharmacy, I used to work at the pharmacy, and in high school, and I would go deliver people's pharmaceuticals, and would end up sitting and talking with a lot of the elders, maybe laying a hand on their back or on their neck or something, but just very slight amounts of things. But then from doing those things as a younger person, I decided, I really feeling called. I was also in dance and performing arts and that kind of stuff. So all this body stuff led me to energetics, Reiki first. I first started doing Reiki and getting receiving that initiation, and was reading tons of spiritual work, and through college, that led me to Hannah Kroger in Boulder.
Oh, wow.
And doing some work there, and my mother had also done some work with Hannah Kroger, and she turned me on to that, and we had been doing dowsing work and work of that nature up in this point, minor clearings and things like that, spiritual clearings at that point. I kind of did that all through high school. And then I decided I need to get a degree. I need to touch people legally. Mm-hmm. I was either going to go to New Mexico and study with this healer from the Hannah Kroger program, or then I just kept seeing Hawaii everywhere. Everywhere I went, it was like, are you from Hawaii? Are you from Hawaii? Are you from Hawaii? And I'm like, no. Okay, source, spirit, great spirit, what's going on? Am I supposed to go to Hawaii? And I got a resounding yes, and there's a story there, but I won't take all this time to tell it. And I decided to go to massage school at the Big Island Academy of Massage in Hilo, which at the time was run by Nancy Calavai and Paul Rambo. It is no longer run by those same people. And so I was trained there, and also had a shiatsu training at that time, Swedish. Nancy is very masterful, so is Paul, Lomi Lomi. And then I had opportunity to study more Lomi Lomi with Betty Lau through Jeannie Sunderland, and also Papa K, who I got to go to Oahu and do various work with and lay hands on people in my first decade of being a therapist. And I apprenticed with Kyoki Stab in Waimea. So that's my jumping point. And then, like you, I'm sure I've had lots of workshops and other stuff in between now and then. So, but that's how I started.
Yeah, that's great. And how amazing also to look back and look at where it started as far as formalizing the training. Because I think that many people, including ourselves, and I just want to broaden that out there to the listeners. You don't have to have a license. You don't have to have a certificate. You don't have to train in any one thing. Some of us come in, a lot of us come in with abilities, and some of you that are listening know that, right? About them, say well, I kind of do this sometimes and it works and people feel better. And I don't really know what I'm doing, but you do. You do. There's something inside, there's something inside that a lot of us have. And to explore that and these ways that Michál and I have gone through in our lives of different trainings and really cultivating that space and using it and working with people. That's a cultivation, but I think there's a natural propensity for that desire to heal, that ability to heal, the energy that moves through us. And so I think the journey is just fascinating.
I so agree with you. And I think we're all, like Terra is saying, we're all on the journey of self-healing. And ultimately, we would kind of joke around, a good healer, well, it's have you healed yourself? That's the point, is have you healed yourself? If you've healed yourself, well, then I'd like to see you.
I'd like to just say I'm working on it.
Well,
I'm still working on that.
and I would say I have finally healed myself. Not that I'm done here. I have many things to still connect and learn and grow into, but I had some pretty major things that I needed to heal, and I thankfully am on the other side of that. So that feels pretty awesome. And it did take me a solid 24 years of concerted effort to do that. So I'd like to claim that, yes, I've gotten through some serious things and I'm on the other side of healing. So I like to also impart, that makes me think of this, that often we're given this rhetoric that, oh, it's a life's work, it's a work in progress. Well, many things are. And I do believe that we can heal, that we can actually heal of certain things. We can say that's done. Doesn't mean there's not more things to work on or new aspects, but certain things that you're like, oh, that one thing, we can heal it. We can move through it. We can get to the other side.
Yeah.
So I think the journey, though, is all of us healing. And like Terra was saying, innately you feel the draw to maybe lay hands or to use sound or movement with yourself, maybe with your family. Personally, I grew up, my grandmother would have us doing what's called cupping now, but I knew that as bentosis. I only thought my family did that. I didn't realize it was the thing that people did. And that's when you take the cup and the suction on the back. We did it with a glass jar, and we would actually melt wax on a quarter with a candle and put the candle on the quarter. And then we would light the candle and stick the jar over it on the back.
So heat the coin with the candle, the heat of the candle?
No, it's just so the candle stays on the quarter.
I see.
It's like connected to the quarter. And then that becomes like a table for the candle to be on the back.
Wow.
And then we would put that in, and then the oxygen gets sucked out because the candle lights fire, and then all of the air gets out, and then it suctions up, and then you do that. So my aunties would have me do that to them all growing up. We would do that. Plus, my grandma did a lot of healing remedies. She's an old curandera, so that means healer in Spanish, and we come from like native healing work. So I grew up with some very traditional healing remedies. Some of you might recognize, like, how about, have any of you put potatoes on your head, soaked in vinegar when you have a headache?
Not I.
Okay, so I grew up with things like that. We would, when there was a headache, my grandma, who I'm excited to see this summer, she's going to be 97. We would soak slices of potato, you put them in vinegar, put them on your head, and then wrap a bandana around that to just soak up the fever and to pull it out of your body for an instant.
That worked
It does work, actually.
Fantastic. We did apple cider vinegar rub downs.
Yes, very similar.
I don't think they were a little torturous as a child because you have to like get naked and then you have this cold and you become cold, but it breaks the fever. It's amazing.
Right. My grandma would do one side of the body with that and then the other side. She used to say you do the right leg, left arm, then you do the left leg, left arm. So you go,
advanced
polarity.
Apple cider vinegar
It
application.
is. It's polarity. it's actually polarity work that she was actively doing from our tribal knowingness. So then gets into a really great leaping point that you can see how so many tribal and native remedies are based in real scientific like study and physics knowledge. But we didn't maybe know it as that, but we did it anyway. We were taught those things. And as these modalities have grown and they're actually, now people actually do those things that we were doing naturally in the old days, per se. And, we used to say science is finally catching up with the mysticism. For certain, right?
I still say that. They're still catching up.
Oh, they're still catching up. There's so much they still don't understand. But,
right.
Yes. So... yeah. So
what do you feel is your favorite modality that you use now that you've trained in?
Oh, well, that at this point, I wouldn't say one, because at this point it's, and I'm sure you can relate, it's like a doctor's kit or, a toolbox full of tools. So it's kind of like, what tool do you need? What tool is needed in this now moment? So as we move along the journey, we collect tools of all sorts. And no matter who you are, you're collecting different ideas, tools, ways of being, ways of seeing the world, of healing yourself. And so modalities are similar to that. And, there's a lot of a jumble of modalities that I use at this point. I, at this point in the game, do more multidimensional, energetic work than anything, because it's kind of like go to the root. And I realize, well, most everything, I could work on your shoulder all day long, but and pound it with my physical hands. But why is your shoulder hurting to begin with?
Yeah.
And we have to address that. And so I think if there's the most important thing I could share to everyone out there is get to the root. What is the root of whatever you're dealing with? And what is going to help you get to that root in the best way? So obviously what I think works is what I do, because, I've been like building my toolbox. So I think that multidimensional work, which really leads you into looking at your emotional wounding, mother-father issues, where am I giving my power away, owning our sovereignty, and then coupling that with massage, because it feels good. B, we can do stuff with the physical body. And once something gets into our physical body, we're playing in a different field than if it's just in our aura. We can move something very fast out of the aura. But if it's already gotten into the physical body, now we might need other things to help remove it. So just to say, since we're talking about modalities, some of the different physical modalities, that I've studied, and then I'd say little pieces, like maybe a piece of that's gotten integrated, a piece of that. So body talk, Neuralink, Lomi Lomi, Swedish shiatsu, reflexology. These are all pretty known physical, yet also esoteric study. They all have esoteric components, physical ways of moving through the body. And I do think all of them have something to offer. I think they all are valuable and, can be utilized in really great ways. What's your experience with those?
Yeah. Well, let me just ask you this. I love that. Like, so I actually know how you work. And that was a brilliant little snap. Like, look, I reach over there for that little Neuralink, and I reach over here for this, and reflect, all the different pieces. If you could slow that roll a little and describe that just a moment, just one sentence, like what is Neuralink? I'm familiar with it, but
sure, I understand. So Neuralink is really the brain, connecting the brain to the body. So we like a breaker goes off, and the shoulder, you're experiencing pain somewhere. It's like the brain isn't seeing it. So it's like, hey, brain, this is happening, and we'd like to connect you back into the shoulder to heal something here. That's like the simplest way of putting it, is like brain and physical connection, connecting the brain to the body. There is really a lot of, I haven't studied it all the way to the nth, so I'm no expert in Neuralink, but I've had pieces of it in my study that I use that I think are really great. And kind of the simplest technique that anybody can use right now is tapping your head and the opposite side of the body. So let's say my right knee is hurting. You could just put your hand on your right knee and tap the left side of your head with intention. Hey, hello, brain, can you take a look at what's happening in my knee and put some energy to that? So that would be the simplest version of Neuralink. There are actual hand patterns. There's different ways of, looking at things with the system, but that would be the simplest version of Neuralink. Body Talk has a similar system. It gets into more emotions, and but it's also working with listening to the body and the brain connection. I didn't study as much of that one. I did earlier on, but I wouldn't say that I use a lot from that specific system, although it opened up, I think, ways of thinking in my beingness, and like went, oh, aha. I don't know that I pulled that much from the actual work, other than like a concept that then made me see how the body operates and how we might be able to heal the body in grander ways than I had maybe seen prior.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and integrating that
Yeah.
into the massage experience. And becomes like such this dynamic massage experience, right? When we're talking about linking the nervous system, like waking up the nervous system to itself again, and maybe letting go of some gaps. We're reconnecting. And it wasn't that Don Polipovich was teaching Body Talk? Isn't that who was
Yes,
teaching here?
yes, it was.
Don, right?
Yeah, down. What that was? Yeah, that's who I took it from, and
Yeah.
that was, gosh, 20 some years, 25 years ago.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and Jeannie Sunderland is actually who I learned some of the Neuralink work from. But then, I kind of, after working on thousands of bodies, and both of us have been therapists for, I don't know, 27 or so
Or
years,
so.
28, 29, 20 years. So thousands of bodies have been on the table for both of us. And I know that a lot of what I've learned has just been in being in session and then working with myself and getting through my own emotional wounding and developing tools that I learned worked throughout the journey. And by reflecting with others and by utilizing the stories that I would see to then find new ways of interacting with the body. And of course, once you've worked on so many bodies, you see patterns, right? And
Yeah.
oh, well, this emotion lives in this part of the body, or this thing stores this aspect. So you can work through any body in a similar fashion, but of course everyone is dealing with their own long story. And that's when we get into more the energetics, and we get into moving through the energetic system. But before we talk about that, I'd love for you to talk about Bowen and the work that you do, because you engage in that. That's something you've really dove into. You teach it, you share it quite often, and it's another physical format, but it kind of couples the energetics and the physical and has its own premise. And you brought up nervous system, which made me like pop right into that.
Yes.
So talk a little bit about Bowen.
Yes, thank you. Actually, I thought like you were talking about your toolkit, right? Your massage toolkit, and we keep adding things. Really, I take this workshop, and we learn from that teacher, and then we do this. And in 2005, I had a clinic in Kapa'au called Life Space, and I was quite happy. I was quite busy in my life, and I got a call from Noeau and said, "You need to learn Bowen." And I was like, "No, I don't. I'm busy." At the time, I thought I was doing pretty good work, and my toolkit was pretty well filled with lots of little tools to reach for. But that was, so long story short, I did take the training, initiated that training, and continued training for about 1.5 years until I got certified. And that really blew the doors on the toolkit I had, even though I still love the toolkit that I started with, that first 10 years or something like that. But this part, the Bowen toolkit, allows the innate healing system to really kick in, right? So it enables a system that we have built into our bodies. And there's a few modalities that have a very similar outlook and perspective, right? And Oriental medicine is there. Network chiropractic is very similar in theory and also application.
Even Neuralink has similarities to that as well.
Yes, absolutely. And even in theory, I would say craniosacral sometimes does too, but the application is very, very different. And the value of allowing our bodies to get these like little messages, allowing that system to turn on and allowing our bodies to come back to our own place of function and harmony, that is the highest level for our unique system, right? And that's the toolkit that I really like with Bowen. So that's been just lighting my fire for about 20 years, and now I get to teach practitioner training and bring other people into that world of supporting others through very gentle light touch, but profound change. Because our bodies, every one of us, has this incredible body that knows how to heal itself.
Ooh, absolutely. And that's kind of like brings us to more present day of, what I love to talk about, sovereignty and regaining our sovereignty and owning our own vessel. And all of these modalities are basically built to help you to address aspects so that you can become whole and claim your sovereignty as a being. And what we both, I think, have found over these years, I speak for you on this one, is that we both realize that body, mind, spirit. We can do the body part, but you have to do the mind part and you have to do the spirit part all at once in a trinity, climbing up that ladder, or else one side's going to lag, right? And then you can't get the triangle up the pole, so to speak. So if you look at that in your
Yes.
mind, so we have to take all three sides up at the same time, or else we can't get to the top, and we can't get to the top of our own game, our own wholeness. And so in these modalities, I would say that there's been some really, I'm very blessed to have my mother across the yard who is quite a powerhouse in the nutritional field. As an iridologist, she's been on the show, iridologist and herbalist. And I find that pairing our modalities together really works well, because doing the internal cleansing, cleaning, is critical for owning the body vessel. So I can, move things all day long for a person and release, clear something, clear things out, create freedom. You might feel amazing, but if you're still eating, yo-yos or, Twinkies or having 5 sodas or during the day, guaranteed you're not going to feel better.
Right.
It's going to keep being an issue. So we have to stock our mind. We have to put in the body, good, healthy things. And that's a whole show. And I love having, my mom, Karen, on the show to talk a lot about the health stuff. And you do hear me talk about that fairly often as well. But these modalities that we can dive into that can really help us, I really find that there's a lot of different things that work. And at the same time, it's good to pick one or two or three and really stick with it. Like longevity, like not scattering all over. If you're trying to heal, it's like pick a practitioner you like and go to them and get on a plan and stay with something. Because often, even though there's all these fun things that are out there, if we skip around and we just do everything, then we scatter our energy and we don't really ever deepen into something. So you kind of like Terra's explaining, she jumped into Bowen, really is deepened into that over this last 20 years and is finding such joy and such, benefit and being able to share that with others. And I would say for me, I've really jumped into the spiritual techniques. The energetic techniques. That's been like my focus, is the meditations and the sovereignty tools, and really finding freedom by understanding the emotional wounding and the releasing archons and that kind of thing, which they all go hand in hand. Honestly, they're all like equally important in our journey. One thing I really appreciate about Bowen is its ability to just help soften the nervous system. And like, it's for me, and like, I like Terra and I like to tag team, like, okay, let's clear them out, do the thing, and then get them back into their nervous system, get everything turned back on and working properly. So, there's time, place for every modality.
Yeah, there's such a great value in practitioners knowing each other's work and knowing where this person can get great benefit, and then that person is actually ready for the next step, and that might be a different practitioner. Mm-hmm. But it's like the ping pong approach that some people take because they just don't know which thing to start with and what to do. It's like an illusion of support, right? You're like, look, and I'm doing the acupuncture on Thursdays, and I'm on Wednesdays I'm getting massage, and on Tuesdays I'm getting chiropractic adjustment, and there's this I applaud people that do this, and I know people that do this, because on some level they're making a choice to support themselves, right? So on some level they're saying like, look, I'm valuable and it's worth me feeling better, and it's worth me figuring out this body, this life, this thing, and feel better doing it, right? And so I'm going to attract and do all these things. But there can be a loss of efficiency or effectiveness when we ping pong therapies, unless those practitioners are working together and really are doing a holistic care approach. So I like what you're saying, which is like, just find a practitioner you know is bringing value into your body, your life, your psyche, or whoever you are in your journey in that moment, and stick with them for a little while to see if you can make some significant improvement. And I think ultimately listen to yourself. If you can get to a place where you ask yourself, is this person, this approach, this modality, the best for me in this moment right now, and you can trust your answers, that's where you want to get to too. Like it might be, there's 1,000 different approaches. There's thousands of different therapists. So that cultivating that relationship to yourself, to your own healing, is key to your journey being successful, right? So that you go, oh, is it Michál right now? Either I have this significant thing, whether that's like a psychic thing and a relationship thing, a pattern I'm seeing come up and up and up and up and up and up again and over again. And also coincidentally, I have this like pain in my shoulder that runs down to the middle of my back. Is Michál the one to support me right now is this the best choice for me? That cultivating that question to yourself and that answer, if the answer is yes, then you go for it, right? You just call Michál and you say, let's do this and let's work on it and let's work together to see what is the best care program that I can do to get through this, right? And then trust yourself that might be a period of time, might be a couple of sessions, it might be months, until that point where you say like, okay, sorted. Now whatever. And maybe there's something else I can bring into my life that's in a different category if that's something. So, yeah,
I like that. I like what you're saying. And I tend to bring in other therapists if needed. Like, hey, now, which I have done with you too. Like, okay, now I'd like you, Terra, can you see my client? Because I think they'd really benefit from now working with you a little bit in the nervous system and kind of softening into that. Or often, like I said, I have them pair with my mom in doing the nutritional work. So if you're out there looking for ways to heal, definitely I say having someone who can nutritionally support you. Naturopathic medicine is awesome. At the same time, like what's going on in the schools and in our societal systems, I think we're losing some of the core root knowledge that we are talking about for those of us who are kind of from the old school. There's some real root knowledge. And one thing I love about iridology, and specifically what my mom does as an herbalist and iridologist, is she's getting to the root. Whereas a lot of systems will treat 7 things. If you have 7 things going on, that's too much to treat at once. You want to treat 2, and then in 3 months you've only got 4 versus 7. Kind of thing. So getting to the root of why something's happening. So I think like a physical body, an internal practitioner, someone who can help you with the internal work is really important, like the food and what I'm putting in and cleansing, very critical. And then, someone like myself or like Terra, who we're both, going to work through some emotional aspects as well as how that's sitting in the body computer. How is that showing up? In general, I like to say if you have pain in your body, well, something's going on. Something's there. Either, there's either something foreign in your body. You've picked something up. You have actually injured yourself. There's some reason why you're experiencing pain. It might be emotional. It might be physical. It might be a number of things, but we want to figure out what that is.
Pain is a great motivator.
Yes, it is. It's a great motivator. So, and then you're using meditation, like we've talked about before, meditation tools, whoever you like, whatever you like to do, but tools that help you I do like meditations that are not just about being quiet, but are about like, that's one thing, sit and be quiet and just breathe. I love that. I mean, it's wonderful and lovely. And then there is meditation where you're actually utilizing energetic tools, working through systems. Terra and I actually happen to co-facilitate a women's retreat where we do a lot of learning around energetic tools in the field, what that looks like. What do we even do when we meditate? What does that mean? So there's lots of different theories and schools of thought on meditation itself. That's a whole topic on its own. But I do think it's critical in finding wholeness and in healing.
Yes, I'm right there with you. The active tools. I mean, I call it active meditations, right?
Yeah.
And so cultivating that ability to be still in the mind is a beautiful thing, and actually, definitely needed more in the Western culture. And then when you get to a place where you're capable of that, the active meditations are where we do our work, where we do our energetic, dynamic, dimensional work with our own bodies and beings. And
And we can get
we
into
can
our
refer to
ancestry.
yes.
Can do what?
Refer to you have so many wonderful active meditations that people can use and just get started on anytime. And you host them on your YouTube channel and your website, right?
Yeah, you can find it off the website as well, Living Light Hawaii, and the YouTubes at Michál Love. And you can also find replays of this show on there as well, Intuitive Talk Story. And sometimes we have replays on Spotify via KNKR under Intuitive Talk Story, although I haven't seen any updated ones lately, but that's also an option for show replays. And also a good time to say the opinions, beliefs, and views of the hosts and hosts do not necessarily reflect those of KNKR or their affiliates. But these are all, there's great tools available. And we'll talk more about this stuff. We're going to take a quick, short break and get a little pulse on what's going on in the community. And we'll be right back with more Intuitive Talk Story. All right, we are back. You are listening to KNKR LP 96.1 FM Kohala. This is Intuitive Talk Story with your host, Michál and today's special guest, Terra Sutton. All right, so we were talking about modalities, different ways to enliven ourselves and find healing and kind of how to stick with it. So we thought maybe we would just kind of go over a few more of the modalities that we've each studied and give you a little more background on what they are and what the benefits might be. So Terra, why don't you start us off?
This will be like a little sneak peek, because really we could go on and on and on about this topic.
We really could.
And, beyond the ones we've studied, there's other ones we've come encountered with, let's say. And then there's like 1,000 more beyond that. So let's see. We've talked a little bit about Bowen. We've talked a little bit about Neuralink and Body Talk. Let's see. One of my original modalities I trained in is Shiatsu, and that works on the 5-element theory and includes the meridians of the body. And the approach there is that you assess the mu points in the abdomen primarily, and sometimes there's other mu points in the chest area as well. And those points tell you what's the most acute issue that's happening in the body right now. And then you can assess the shu points, which are on the back of the body. And from there, you get a really good sense of what's happening in that body, say, within the week, which is the acute, and then long-term chronic issues that are happening from assessing the different acupuncture points in the back. And then you make a plan, right? So you say, which is in the 5-element theory, we have fire, earth, metal, water, wood, and we basically support different meridians that says, which are the meridians that's going to feed the meridian that needs the most energy? And then if there's an overactive meridian, what is the other meridian that can, if we support that, control or reduce the excess energy that's in an overactive meridian? And in there, we support the body in finding an energetic balance and flow. And so that's how Shiatsu, like the basic of Shiatsu, right? And it's just beautiful. It's just beautiful. And I would say that I reach for it sometimes. And sometimes even the understanding of what the different elements represent and how people show up. Like they show up and they're going, blah, 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 and I'm going to tell you everything, and everything's very exciting. Da, 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 da. That's like an overactive fire energy, or there's 4 meridians that actually support that element of fire in the body. But that can be like, say, their heart meridian is out of balance, and that's that overactive, talkative. That's just one example. And even having, say, they drink coffee, everything's bitter that they like. Coffee is bitter, and there's other things that are bitter. That is that bitter flavor is associated with the fire element. So if they're over excessively wanting that, there's some imbalance in that element.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that's one example.
That's a great example. And then that kind of is the kind of the tip point of the Eastern philosophies in general, which are quite a few, shiatsu being one of them, reflexology, another one, which I love. That gets into, the organs and utilizing points with same kind of scenario that Terra's already talked about with meridians. But also, so finding the meridian lines and affecting the meridians, but also the organs, and maybe pushing on a gallbladder point, or specifically to the neck. Often your whole map of your body is in your feet, as it is in your ears, as we can find similar on your hands. And in the iridology format that we were talking about earlier, you can see it all in your iris of your eye. So we have maps everywhere in our body that we can move from. So I think the more holistic approach back to that we take, we can pull from all these different things, because they're all very beautiful and have a lot of richness and wisdom in each of these studies. So reflexology would be another of the Eastern and then, of course, acupuncture, which neither of us are acupuncturists. However, love acupuncture. I think it's great. And you can really tell, I think, a good acupuncturist by how little you feel the needle go in. That for me is, if the person can just poof and put the needle in without me really feeling any discomfort. And, it's that chi, back to that energetics, finding the chi. And then you get into herbs, and which I am not as, in general, have not utilized as much of the Chinese herbs. I have for certain things, but I would say that's not my number one go-to. I would say I go to superfoods, whole foods, and also just straight up more like remedies, that like black walnut, artemisia, like things like that, that are more standard in this country and around the world, but more of the, I don't know what you would call those, European herbs. The Oriental herbs, same thing. I haven't had tons of it, but there's some that I've noticed over the years that are just profoundly supportive of things that we don't get to so often in Western. I'm sure we do in Western herbalism, but not in Western medicine. But say like adrenal exhaustion, which is kind of rampant on the planet right now because of our ways that we're living and what we're eating, and et cetera. They do have some profoundly good solutions and support for balancing the adrenals, which I think is key, Absolutely. And I have definitely been on adrenal support herbs myself. And I would say back to this is when, like, for this type of work, which is absolutely important, you have to balance out the body. What is going on with the blood? What's happening inside of the body? And then we did a show recently on parasites. We did a show recently on sugar. Check those out, because we talk a lot about this kind of stuff. And again, it's really important to find a health practitioner and that can work with you in those realms, so that you know what you're putting in and what's coming out and all that good stuff. Really important. I'm a huge fan of getting on a health plan and just sticking with it. And like back to that, don't ping pong, especially on health plans. Pick one and go with it. 3 months for anything. To really see, something change, give yourself 90 days on any program, and really, be very picky about who you choose, and then stick with it and see what the difference is or what you're feeling. And if you're not experiencing change, also give yourself the break to go, this isn't working for me, and I'm going to try something else. So, but definitely getting in with the health practitioner. And then some of the other modalities, Lomi Lomi is one that I've loved, and I've had the honor of studying here in Hawaii. You brought up Noeau earlier, which I think you were talking about Noeau Day, whom I had the
Yes.
opportunity to study Lapa'ala'au with.
Awesome.
I apprenticed with her in the early days, and I'm so grateful. I wish she was here longer. So there's a lot that kind of crosses over in the Hawaiian pantheon when we talk about like medicine, plants, and ability to heal your body on multiple levels. Because there's plants that we can also use, not to just ingest, but that we can use as compresses, that we can use to steam and pull things out of the body, mucus. So big one I just like to put out there right now, it's coming to mind, is inflammation is kind of the key to all dis-ease. So mucus, you want to get the mucus out. So mucus, inflammation, those are like, if you're experiencing either of those, it's like we want to get rid of it. That's kind of number one in whatever format. But so plant medicine is critical in many ways. And it can be used through whole foods, through herbs, to cleanse and renew the body. And then Lomi Lomi is around the physical body and energetics. Again, the core, I was taught through the core of Lomi Lomi, is you have to believe in God, in source, in order to do Lomi Lomi. You can't do Lomi Lomi and be a heathen. Like they don't go together, because we are calling on divine wisdom. We are calling on God, source energy, to be stewards and to lead us to give this person whatever is needed. And characteristically, Lomi Lomi is defined by long sweeping strokes through the body. And it has kind of a rhythm to it in how you move through the body with oil, massaging with oil. Swedish is also an oil based massage where you're kneading and effleuraging and creating these strokes. So a lot of the massage techniques are referring to the stroke, like how one is moving through the body, whereas shiatsu or reflexology are more like pressure pointing, holding points, and not necessarily with oils. You don't need oil for those two, for instance. They don't work with oil. So just to give a little background on a couple of those actual techniques.
Yes, it's really fun to hear, like, especially when you're talking about this, is that there's so many like approaches, right? So like there's trigger point work.
Oh, yeah.
There's a whole body of trigger
Fascia
point.
work.
There's a whole body of fascia work. And now it's like fascia's hot.
Yes.
So fascia's been hot for 7 years now, finally. It's hot. It's still hot. There's an international fascia conference and everything for all you fascia lovers out there.
And
it's
I say
happening.
fascia. Am I saying it wrong?
Fascia.
Fascia. Is it like tomato?
Yes. And like fascia, when you're doing
building
projects.
That's a fascia board. That's a board.
No,
it's a fascia. That's totally different. It's not that.
It's not that. But it is a building part of our body.
Yeah. Well, we are like a home, and there is definitely that aspect. Yeah. So we could do metaphors all day on that.
Yeah. But I love what you said about Lomi Lomi incorporating. It's not just the strokes. So coming from originally a Swedish understanding. So Swedish is very technical. You're kind of like, we're doing circulation and we're doing, there's a lot of circulation going on with Swedish. It's like effleurage, which is long strokes, and you're really moving the blood and you're moving the lymph and you're moving all the liquids and the fluids of the body, but you're getting parts of the body that are ischemic or have lower blood flow, which means they have lower nutrient delivery to all those tissues. And so there's a huge value in Swedish. But and Lomi Lomi takes it to the next level, which it says, as we are bringing circulation, which is moving the blood and the lymph and the liquids of the body through fluids of the body through the body, we're also acknowledging that the goal and the energetics underneath we wouldn't even come here to move fluids if we weren't connecting you back to your God. Or I don't know, I'm not saying that right, the source of yourself. And that the
your
quality,
cosmic heart.
Yeah, and the quality of that energetic, of that intention as you're doing the physical movement is the invisible addition, right? And how beautiful that is.
And that, we only have a few more minutes left, so I would like to just input there that, and this is where you get into like tribal or cultural aspects that have been infused with spirit for all of time. And then when we get into more of these like rigid, more left brain type of things. Well, what's the name? What's it have? Where did it? And that's where we lose spirit. And so ultimately, pick modalities that have spirit inherent in them, because that's really what's healing is our spirit. And so when you have Hawaiian, anytime we just saying Hawaii, we have already are incorporating spirit. We've got the breath, we've got the water, we've got the creator in Hawaii. We're already spirits in it already, because language, and just to pull this in, language, all most tribal languages or older languages have resonance. The tonation itself has a meaning. So when I say aloha, it's not just a word, there's resonance. Ah, the absolute is already in it. The breath's already in it. To be one with both of those is already in it. It's in the word. If we say aloha as a native speaker, you would know. I'm not a native speaker, but I'm saying if one was a native speaker of any language that has resonance, you would be inherent. You would know I'm already bringing in spirit. It wouldn't be a question. For as many of us who are learning, languages or learning this or that, we don't have that inherent feeling about something. So you have to place meaning upon it. In the older times in Amharic, when Jesus was preaching, for instance, that he's preaching about these concepts of going to source, but all of the words are already speaking it in their intonation, because we all understand if we're Amharic, we speak Amharic, if we're all Amharic natural speakers, we already know that the ah is the absolute in there, the sha is the light of within. We're inherently feeling those resonances as I'm receiving the words. So ultimately, back to that Trinity, any modality that we want to utilize, we want to have source alive within it, because ultimately you are a spirit in having a human experience. And what is the goal? It's to be whole and to pick up all your pieces, to know thyself, and to do whatever journey appeals to you, to do that, to heal thyself, to know thyself. That to me is the whole journey.
And be free.
Yeah. Yeah. So in this freedom, we just so grateful. Time flies when you're having fun. We've got Gabby coming up here next with Stereo Gab and beautiful music. And we're going to end out with a little song here on the nervous system. And join me again next week for more Intuitive Talk Story. Terra, it's been great to have you on the air. Thank you for joining me today and having this rich conversation.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a total joy.
Awesome. I love it. And see all of you guys out there again next Wednesday, or feel free to check out any of the replays. And aloha. Happy healing.
My nervous system is with every breath I take deposits peace into my spirit. I move different now, slower, softer, wiser. No rush, no chase, just grace. Yeah. In my calm, in my breath, in my rest, I'm rich. In my joy, in my flow, in my yes, I'm rich. I don't chase validation, nah, that's so new. I don't invest in chaos, nah, that's broke energy. My mind a garden, my heart a vault, my body a whole bank of blessings. I'm wealthy in patience, abundant in stillness, overflowing in presence. Every pause pays interest. Listen, my peace compounds daily, my clarity multiplies. Luxury ain't in diamonds, it's in the way I breathe and how I protect my energy. Yeah. My nervous system remembers safety. My soul knows overflow. I ain't just surviving. I'm sovereign, I'm divine. Currency, I'm rich, for real.